The 6 alien students stepped off their ship and felt Earth's gravity pull at their bodies immediately. Some stumbled while others steadied themselves with their specialized equipment. Earth's sun shone brightly overhead, its rays stronger than many of them had ever experienced. "Welcome to Earth," said Professor Laura Bennett with a warm smile. The human woman stood confidently in the landing area of Chicago's International Spaceport. Next to her was a tall young man with sandy hair who kept checking a tablet in his hands. "This is Greg Winters, my graduate assistant," Laura said. "He will help you adjust to life here at Northwestern University." Greg looked up and nodded at the aliens. "I've prepared your special accommodations according to the specifications we received. We should get you settled quickly." The aliens looked at each other nervously. They had all volunteered for this first official exchange program between Earth and the Galactic Confederation. Earth had joined the Confederation 30 years ago, but few non-humans had spent significant time on the planet. Everyone in the galaxy knew Earth was classified as a Deathworld, a planet with conditions so harsh that most species could not survive there without special protection. Zixhal, a crystalline being from the frozen world of Lumar 7, stepped forward first. His translucent body reflected the sunlight in rainbow patterns. "The gravity is intense," he said through his translator device. Already his cooling suit was working hard to keep his body at the frigid temperatures he needed. "You'll adjust somewhat," Laura said. "Though we've prepared a special climate-controlled room for you, kept at -50 degrees Celsius." The amphibious Nipa moved forward next, her skin already looking dry in Earth's air. Water vapor misted from the hydration system she wore. "How far to our quarters? I need to submerge soon." "The transport is ready," Greg said, pointing to a large vehicle nearby. "We have portable water tanks inside for your immediate needs." One by one, the others moved toward the transport. Voss, the insectoid researcher from Jeroen, wore the most complex equipment of all, a sealed exosuit that filtered out Earth's oxygen, which was toxic to his system, and provided the methane mixture he breathed. Talus from the desert planet Carrick moved with caution, her silicon-based body heavy under Earth's gravity. Her skin had a rough, stone-like quality that seemed to absorb the sunlight. Elora of Lumina was covered from head to toe in protective garments. On her world, light was gentle and diffuse. Earth's direct sunlight could damage her delicate tissues within minutes of exposure. Finally, Drev from the gas giant Javari floated slightly above the ground, held up by a personal gravity regulator that counteracted some of Earth's pull. "I never thought I'd actually stand on the famous Deathworld," Drev said, his voice filled with both fear and excitement. "We're honored you've all chosen to come," Laura said as they boarded the transport. "This exchange program means a lot to Earth. We have much to learn from each other." As the transport moved through the city toward Northwestern University, the aliens pressed against the windows, taking in their first real views of Earth. Tall buildings reached toward the sky. Green plants grew everywhere, in parks, along roads, even climbing up walls. And there were humans, thousands of them, walking freely in the open air without protection. "How do they survive so easily?" Elora whispered. "No suits, no breathing apparatus, no shields." "They evolved here," Zixhal reminded her. "This death trap is their home." At the university, a small crowd had gathered to welcome the alien students. Greg noticed the aliens' discomfort at seeing so many humans. "Don't worry," he said quietly. "Everyone has been briefed on your needs and personal space requirements." The university president made a short speech about friendship between worlds, and then the aliens were taken to their special residence hall. Each had a room designed specifically for their biological needs. Zixhal's room was like a freezer, the walls covered in frost. Nipa had a large tank instead of a bed, filled with filtered water matching the chemical composition of her home oceans. Voss's chamber was sealed, with the air replaced by his breathable methane mixture. Talus had heating lamps and silicon-rich sand covering the floor. Elora's room was kept in gentle, indirect lighting with special filters on all light sources. Drev's space had gravity regulators built into the ceiling and floor, creating a more comfortable environment. After settling in, they gathered in a common room designed to accommodate all their needs simultaneously, No small engineering feat. Tomorrow we'll begin orientation, Laura explained. Your classes start next week. Until then, focus on adjusting to Earth's conditions. Professor? Tallis asked, her voice like stones, rubbing together. Is it true that Earth has over 50,000 species that can kill humans? Laura laughed. That number is a bit exaggerated, but yes, Earth has many dangerous plants, animals, and microbes. Even the weather can be deadly here. Yet humans thrive, Voss observed through his translator. Fascinating. That night, as each alien rested in their specialized rooms, a sudden storm rolled over Chicago. Thunder boomed and lightning flashed. Rain pounded against the windows. Elora jumped at each thunderclap. On her gentle homeworld, such violent weather never occurred. Zixhal watched frost patterns form on his window as the outside temperature dropped rapidly with the storm. Nipa found the sound of rain soothing as she floated in her tank. Voss didn't notice the storm at all in his sealed room. Tallis felt the electromagnetic changes in the air that preceded each lightning strike, a new and disturbing sensation. Drev's gravity regulator fluctuated slightly with each thunderclap, making him rise and fall in his sleep. The next morning, they met Greg in the common room. He carried drinks specially prepared for each of their biologies. Did everyone sleep okay during the storm? He asked. That was normal weather? Elora asked, still shaken. Just a regular thunderstorm, Greg said. Nothing special by Earth standards. On my world, such atmospheric disturbances happen once a decade, not in a single night, Zixhal said. Greg nodded. Earth is dynamic, but you'll get used to it. I read that humans can be injured or killed by these storms, Nipa said. Yet, you don't hide from them. We take precautions when necessary, Greg explained, but mostly we've built our society to withstand Earth's challenges. That's part of what you'll learn here, how we've adapted. As Greg spoke, a small flying insect, a bee, flew in through an open window. The alien students froze, knowing that Earth's wildlife included countless venomous and poisonous species. Greg noticed their fear and gently caught the bee in his hands. It's just a honeybee, he said, carrying it to the window and releasing. They can sting, but they usually don't unless threatened. Your casualness around potentially deadly creatures is disturbing, Drev said. Laura entered the room carrying several devices. These are special emergency communicators, she explained, handing one to each alien student. Wear them at all times. If you have any problem at all, press the red button and help will come immediately. The aliens looked at the devices, then at each other. They had all volunteered for this exchange program, believing their advanced technology would make their stay uncomfortable but manageable. Now, feeling Earth's heavy gravity, harsh sunlight, and unpredictable atmosphere, they weren't so sure. Perhaps the warnings about Earth being a death world weren't exaggerated after all. Laura smiled at them, seemingly untroubled by the world around her. Don't worry too much. We humans have survived here for thousands of years. With our help, you'll survive too. The alien students weren't entirely convinced, but they had come to learn, and already Earth was teaching them something important. Sometimes the most dangerous worlds created the most remarkable people. 2 weeks passed, and the alien students began to adjust to their new routines at Northwestern University. Each morning they gathered in the common room where Greg Winters checked their environmental suits and equipment. Professor Laura Bennett would then review their schedule for the day. Today was special. After 14 days of staying mostly inside the controlled environment of their residence hall, they would take their first trip outside to visit Lake Michigan. The lake is one of Earth's largest freshwater bodies, Laura explained as they prepared to leave. It's a good first outdoor experience since the area is open and we can monitor conditions easily. The aliens looked at each other nervously. Even with their specialized equipment, Earth's environment remained dangerous to them. Will there be many humans there? Asked Elora, adjusting her light protection garments. It's a weekday morning, so the beach should be relatively quiet, Greg said. We've selected a less crowded area. A tall, blonde human woman entered the room. Sorry I'm late, she said, slightly out of breath. This is Amber Clark, Laura introduced her. She's one of my undergraduate students who has volunteered to help with your program. Amber smiled at the aliens. I've been looking forward to meeting you all. I'm studying xenobiology, so this is like a dream come true. Zixhal's crystalline form glittered as he turned toward her. You study beings like us? I want to understand how different species adapt to their environments, Amber explained. Earth species have to be tough to survive here, but species from other worlds have amazing adaptations too. The group boarded a university transport vehicle that had been modified to accommodate their various needs. The drive to the lake took 20 minutes. As they traveled, the aliens pressed against the windows, observing the city around them. So many humans, Voss commented from inside his methane-filled exosuit, all exposed to this dangerous atmosphere. We don't find our atmosphere dangerous, Amber said with a smile, though I understand your homeworld has a methane-rich environment. Yes, Voss replied. Oxygen is toxic to my species. Even a small leak in my suit would be problematic. When they arrived at the lake, the aliens were stunned by the vast expanse of water stretching to the horizon. The morning sun glittered on the surface of the lake. It's beautiful, Nipa said, her amphibious form swaying slightly in anticipation. May I touch the water? That's why we're here, Laura said. But we need to test it first. She took out a small device and dipped it into the lake. After a moment, she nodded. The water is safe for you, Nipa, but stay close to the shore. The Taika group spread out along the small, secluded beach. Talus, the silicon-based life form, crouched down to examine the sand. This contains similar minerals to my homeworld, she said, letting the grains flow through her stone-like fingers. Drev floated slightly above the ground on his gravity regulator, taking readings of Earth's magnetic field with a small device. Fascinating. Your planet's magnetic protection is quite strong. Zixhal stayed in the shade of a large beach umbrella, his cooling suit working hard in the warm summer morning. Your sun is very intense, he said to Greg, who stayed close by him. Nipa waded into the shallows of the lake, sighing with relief as the water covered her drying skin. This feels wonderful, she said. Quite different from our oceans, but pleasant. Elora remained under another umbrella, completely covered in her protective garments. The light reflecting off the water is still too bright for me, she said. But I enjoy watching the small waves. Amber sat nearby, asking questions about the aliens' home planets and sharing stories about Earth. The morning passed pleasantly, with the aliens gradually relaxing in the relatively calm environment. Then, without warning, the weather began to change. Dark clouds rolled in from the west, moving quickly across the sky. Professor Bennett, Greg called out, checking his weather monitor. We have a fast-moving storm front approaching. Barometric pressure is dropping rapidly. Laura immediately stood up. Everyone back to the transport, now. The aliens sensed the urgency in her voice and began gathering their equipment. The wind picked up suddenly, blowing sand and small debris across the beach. The storm wasn't supposed to arrive until tonight, Greg said, as he helped Zixhal gather his monitoring devices. Earth weather is notoriously unpredictable, Laura replied, helping Elora toward the transport. As they hurried across the beach, the first raindrops began to fall. Large and heavy, they hit with surprising force. The wind increased, whipping the surface of the lake into white-capped waves. How dangerous is this? Voss asked, his voice slightly distorted through his suit's translator. Summer storms can be intense but brief, Amber explained. The main risks are lightning and sudden temperature changes. As if on cue, a bolt of lightning struck somewhere behind them, followed by a loud crack of thunder. Elora jumped in fear, nearly falling over. They were halfway to the transport when disaster struck. A particularly strong gust of wind, combined with the rapidly changing barometric pressure, affected Drev's gravity regulator. The device sputtered and flickered with blue light. Something's wrong, Drev said, his voice rising in panic. The regulator is... Before he could finish, the device failed completely. Earth's full gravity suddenly pulled on Drev's body. He collapsed to the ground with a cry of pain, his body not evolved to withstand such gravitational force. "Drev!" Laura shouted, running toward him, but Amber was closer. Without hesitation, she rushed to Drev's side, knelt beside him, and lifted his upper body, supporting him against Earth's crushing gravity. "Greg!" Amber called out. "The regulator!" Greg ran to them, pulling tools from his pocket. Rain poured, down now soaking them all. Another lightning bolt struck nearby, illuminating the scene in harsh white light. "Hold him steady," Greg instructed as he worked on the regulator. "I need to reset the core." Amber held Drev's body, taking most of his weight onto herself. The muscles in her arms strained with the effort, but she didn't let go. "Why?" Drev gasped, his breathing labored under Earth's gravity. "Why risk yourself? If I collapse completely, I could injure you." "Because you need help," Amber replied simply, adjusting her position to better support him. The other aliens watched in amazement as Greg and Amber worked together to help Drev, seemingly unconcerned about the dangerous storm raging around them. After what seemed like an eternity but was actually less than a minute, Greg managed to restart the gravity regulator. The device hummed back to life, and Drev felt the crushing weight ease from his body. "Thank you," he said as Amber helped him stand. They made it to the transport just as the storm intensified. Safe inside, they watched as rain pounded against the windows and lightning flashed across the sky. "Is everyone okay?" Laura asked, checking each alien carefully. Later that evening, back in their residence hall, the aliens gathered in the common room to discuss what had happened. "I still don't understand," Nipa said to Amber. "Why did you risk yourself to help Drev? You barely know us." Amber looked surprised by the question. "That's what humans do," she said with a shrug. "We help each other." The aliens exchanged glances, suddenly understanding something important about the Deathworld species they were studying. On Earth, no one survived alone. 3 months into the exchange program, the alien students had grown more comfortable with their Earth routines. They attended classes, worked on research projects, and even participated in some university events with special accommodations. Their fear of Earth's harsh conditions had not disappeared, but it had lessened somewhat. One morning, Professor Laura Bennett called them to a special meeting in their common room. "I have a proposal for you all," she said once everyone was settled. "The university has approved a research expedition to Yellowstone National Park. It would be a 5-day trip to study one of Earth's most geologically active regions." The aliens looked at each other with mixed expressions of interest and concern. "Yellowstone is a supervolcano, correct?" Zixhal asked, his crystalline form catching the morning light. "That sounds extremely dangerous." "It is a supervolcano," Laura confirmed, "but it's not currently erupting. The park has geysers, hot springs, and unique ecosystems that would be valuable for your research." Greg Winters pulled up some images on the large screen. "These are from Yellowstone. The trip would be carefully planned with all your safety requirements in mind." The images showed colorful hot springs, erupting geysers, wide valleys, and diverse wildlife. Despite their concerns, the aliens were intrigued. "Who else would be going?" asked Talus, her silicon-based body shifting slightly as she leaned forward with interest. "Myself and Greg, of course," Laura said. "Amber has also volunteered. Plus we'll have Ryan Martinez, an ecology graduate student who knows the park well, Olivia Barnes, a geology specialist, and Joe Patterson, who's a park ranger at Yellowstone." After much discussion about safety measures and emergency protocols, the alien students agreed to the expedition. 2 weeks later, they were on a special transport plane heading to Wyoming. The plane had been modified with separate compartments for each alien's unique environmental needs. Voss remained in his methane-filled exosuit but seemed excited, his insectoid features animated behind his clear faceplate. "I've studied Earth's geological features extensively," he said to Olivia, the geology specialist. "But seeing them in person will be invaluable for my research." Olivia nodded. "Yellowstone is like nowhere else on Earth. The thermal features are incredible." Ryan Martinez, a tall man with dark hair and an easy smile, talked with Nipa about the park's water systems. "There are rivers, lakes, and of course the hot springs. We'll make sure you have access to water whenever you need it." Joe Patterson, the park ranger, was older than the others, with weathered skin and alert eyes that missed nothing. The most important thing, he told the group, is to stay on marked paths in the thermal areas. The ground can be thin, with boiling water just below the surface. When they landed at a small airport near the park, 3 specialized vehicles were waiting to take them to their accommodations. The university had arranged for a research facility with modified rooms for the aliens, similar to their setup at Northwestern. The next morning, they set out for their first expedition to the geyser basins. The aliens wore environmental monitors that would alert them to any dangerous changes in temperature, air quality, or radiation levels. Old Faithful is probably the most famous geyser, Joe explained as they arrived at the site. It erupts about every 90 minutes, sending water over 100 feet into the air. The group found a viewing area with enough space for everyone, including Drev with his gravity regulator and Elora with her light protective covering. As they waited for the geyser to erupt, they studied the surrounding landscape. The colors around the hot springs are incredible, Amber said, taking readings with her equipment. Those reds, oranges, and yellows are actually heat-loving bacteria, life that thrives in near-boiling water, Zixhal asked, amazed. Earth continues to surprise me. When Old Faithful finally erupted, the aliens watched in wonder as steaming water shot high into the air. The power of Earth's geothermal energy was both beautiful and frightening. This entire area sits above a massive magma chamber, Olivia explained. The heat from the magma creates the geysers and hot springs. Your species built a research facility on top of a supervolcano? Talus asked, her stone-like face showing what might have been a smile. Very brave, or very foolish. Maybe a little of both, Joe admitted with a laugh. For the next 2 days, the group visited different areas of the park. They collected samples, took readings, and recorded data for their research projects. Despite the challenging conditions, the trip was going well. On the 3rd day, they visited a less popular geyser field that had unique mineral formations. They split into smaller groups to cover more ground. Talus went with Olivia and Joe to study silicon deposits near a particularly active hot spring. Nipa, Ryan, and Laura explored a small stream that connected several thermal features. Zixhal, Greg, and Voss set up monitoring equipment near a dormant geyser. Elora, Amber, and Drev collected bacteria samples from the colorful mats surrounding a steaming pool. None of them noticed the first small tremors. Earth experienced so many minor earthquakes every day that the park's monitoring systems barely registered them. But these tremors were different. They were coming from directly beneath the geyser field. Talus felt it first, her silicon-based body sensitive to vibrations in the ground. Something's changing, she said to Olivia and Joe. The Earth is moving. Before they could respond, a loud rumbling sound came from beneath them. The ground shook more noticeably now. Everyone back to the vehicles, Joe shouted, his voice carrying across the geyser field. Now! Laura immediately began guiding her group back toward the path. Greg helped Zixhal pack up their equipment. Amber grabbed Elora's arm to steady her as the ground continued to shake. Then disaster struck. With a hissing roar, several new vents opened in the ground, releasing clouds of steam and toxic gases. The stable paths they had followed into the geyser field were suddenly cut off by boiling mud and scalding water. This way, Joe called, pointing to higher ground. We need to get to that ridge. As they struggled to find a safe path, the aliens faced the full danger of Earth's unstable geology. The ground beneath them had become a maze of hazards. Thin crusts that could break under their weight, newly formed pools of acidic water, and vents releasing gases harmful even to humans. The situation quickly became desperate. Talus's silicon-based body was particularly vulnerable to the acidic environment, and she began to slow down as the chemicals affected her outer layer. Ryan saw her struggling and, without hesitation, lifted her onto his back. I can carry you, he said, already moving toward higher ground. The acids won't affect me as quickly. Voss's exosuit sensors began flashing red warnings as the gases interfered with his air filtration system. Olivia and Joe worked together, using their shirts to create makeshift filters that they attached to his suit's intake valves. When a sudden burst of steam tore through Elora's protective garment, exposing her light-sensitive skin to direct sunlight. Amber instantly removed her own jacket and shirt, using them to shield Alora despite the exposure, leaving Amber's own skin vulnerable to the harsh sun. The humans moved with surprising speed and decisiveness, putting themselves at risk to protect the aliens. They made choices without hesitation that prioritized the safety of their extraterrestrial guests over their own comfort and security. By the time they reached the safety of the ridge, all of them were exhausted. Ryan had chemical burns on his shoulders and back from carrying Talus. Amber's exposed skin was badly sunburned. Joe and Olivia had minor burns from the steam vents. Yet none of the humans complained. They immediately set about treating each other's injuries and ensuring the aliens were stable. That evening, as they recovered in their quarters, Zixhal observed, "Your bodies are fragile compared to many species, yet you threw yourselves into danger without hesitation." "That's how we survived this planet," Joe replied simply. "Humans aren't individually the strongest, but together we've overcome every challenge Earth has thrown at us." The aliens pondered this. Perhaps the most remarkable adaptation to life on a death world wasn't physical at all. 5 months into the exchange program, the alien students had begun to feel almost comfortable on Earth. They had survived thunderstorms, a geological event at Yellowstone, and even attended a crowded university football game with special protective measures. Their research was going well, and they had made friends among the human students. Then one morning, Nipa woke up feeling strange. Her normally moist skin felt hot and dry despite her hydration system. She tried to get out of her water tank but felt too weak to move properly. "Help," she called weakly through her emergency communicator. "Something is wrong." Greg Winters responded immediately, rushing to her room. When he saw her condition, he called Professor Bennett right away. "Her temperature is dangerously high," he told Laura when she arrived, "and she's having trouble breathing." Laura looked worried. "Get her to the medical center. I'll call Dr. Harris." By that afternoon, Talus had developed similar symptoms. Her silicon-based body was becoming rigid, and she reported feeling intense pain in her joints. Dr. Carol Harris, the university's xenobiology specialist, examined both aliens carefully in the medical center's isolation unit. Her face was serious when she spoke to Laura. "It appears to be some kind of infection," she said. "Possibly a virus that their bodies have no defense against." "An Earth virus?" Laura asked, alarmed. "Most likely. Their immune systems aren't designed to fight our pathogens." By the next day, news reports confirmed a new virus was spreading through the Midwest. Most humans experienced only mild symptoms, a slight fever, cough, and fatigue that passed within a few days. But the alien exchange students had no natural immunity. The university quickly set up a quarantine facility in the laboratory building. Nipa and Talus were moved there first. Within 2 days, Voss and Alora also fell ill. Only Zixhal and Drev remained healthy, possibly protected by their environmental systems. Professor Bennett gathered a team of Earth's top xenobiologists for emergency consultations. They worked around the clock to understand how the Earth virus was affecting the alien physiologies and to develop treatments. "Their bodies are fighting the infection in different ways than ours would," Dr. Harris explained during one late-night meeting. "We need to support each of their unique systems." Greg and Amber volunteered to remain in the quarantine zone, risking exposure to care for their alien friends. They wore protective suits and rarely left the facility, working in shifts, to monitor the aliens' life support systems and administer the experimental treatments the scientists developed. "You should leave," Alora told Amber weakly as the human adjusted her light therapy system. "You could get sick too." "I'll be fine," Amber insisted. "The virus affects humans much less severely, and you need help." Other students from Northwestern organized a support system. They delivered food, medical supplies, and equipment to the quarantine facility. Ryan Martinez contacted his sister Nicole Martinez, a nurse at Chicago Memorial Hospital, who helped obtain specialized medical equipment. Nicole brought a portable kidney dialysis machine that, with modifications, could help filter Nipa's bloodstream. "We use this for human patients," she explained to Greg. "But Dr. Harris thinks it might help remove the virus from Nipa's system if we adjust the settings." The university administration provided additional funding and resources. Even students who had never met the aliens volunteered to help in whatever ways they could. 5 days into the crisis, Voss's respiratory system began struggling. The methane mixture in his exosuit wasn't enough to support his breathing as the virus attacked his lung-like organs. His oxygen levels are dropping, Greg reported during the morning call with the medical team. The standard ventilator isn't compatible with his physiology. Joe Patterson, who had returned to Yellowstone after their expedition, heard about the crisis and immediately flew back to Chicago. When he arrived at the quarantine facility, he brought an old piece of equipment from his grandfather. "It's a CPAP machine," he explained to Dr. Harris. "My grandfather used it for sleep apnea. I thought maybe we could modify it to help with Voss's breathing. It's adjustable in ways the standard ventilators aren't." Dr. Harris and the engineering team worked through the night to adapt the CPAP machine to connect with Voss's exosuit. By morning, they had a working prototype that successfully increased his oxygen levels. As days turned into weeks, the aliens slowly began to improve. The custom treatments, constant care, and modified equipment were making a difference. Humans from all over the university and beyond continued to offer help and resources. Drev, who had remained healthy along with Zixhal, spent hours observing the humans as they worked tirelessly to save the sick aliens. One evening, he spoke to Laura as she was checking on Talus. "Your people barely know us," he said quietly. "We've only been here 5 months. Yet you fight for our lives as if we were your own species." Laura adjusted Talus's silicon supplements before answering. "That's what humans do. We protect each other." "But we're not human," Drev pointed out. "You're people who need help," Laura said simply. "That's enough for us." After 18 days in quarantine, Nipa was the first to recover fully. Talus followed a few days later. Elora and Voss took longer, their systems more severely affected by the virus, but eventually they too began to improve. During her recovery, Elora asked Amber why humans would risk their own health for aliens they barely knew. Amber, exhausted from weeks of working in the quarantine facility, smiled wearily. "On a world where so much can kill you, you learn quickly that survival means protecting each other, regardless of differences." As the last of the aliens left the quarantine facility, the human volunteers gathered outside to welcome them back. Despite their ordeal, the aliens seemed different now, more confident, less afraid of Earth's dangers. That evening, back in their common room, Drev shared his realization with the other aliens. "I think I understand now," he said. "Humans aren't just adapted to survive their Deathworld. Their Deathworld has adapted them to survive anything." Zixhal's crystalline form glittered as he nodded in agreement. "They don't just fight to live on their dangerous planet. They fight to help others live too." "In the Galactic Confederation," Nipa said slowly, "we classify planets by their physical dangers. But perhaps we should also consider what those dangers create in the species that evolve there." They all looked out the window at the Earth night, seeing their temporary home in a new light. What had once seemed like a terrifying Deathworld now appeared different. It was still dangerous, still harsh, and unpredictable. But they now understood that Earth's greatest product wasn't its dangers, it was its people. The academic year was coming to an end. After nearly 9 months on Earth, the alien exchange students prepared to return to their home worlds. The last few weeks were filled with final exams, research presentations, and farewell gatherings. On their final day at Northwestern University, a special ceremony was held in their honor. The university president, faculty members, and many students gathered in the main auditorium. The room had been carefully prepared with separate sections to accommodate each alien's environmental needs. Professor Laura Bennett stood at the podium, looking proudly at her 6 alien students. When this exchange program began, many doubted it would succeed. Earth's classification as a death world made many believe non-humans could not safely study here. But you have proven them wrong. The audience applauded as Laura continued. Each of our exchange students will now present their research findings, which will be shared throughout the Galactic Confederation. Zixhal went first, his crystalline form glittering under the carefully adjusted lights. His cooling suit had been decorated with Northwestern's purple colors for the occasion. My research focused on human physical resilience, he began. Humans have evolved not simply to withstand their harsh environment, but to thrive in it. Their bodies can repair extensive damage, adapt to extreme temperatures, and resist many toxins that would kill other species instantly. He showed images of human athletes, construction workers in difficult conditions, and medical patients recovering from serious injuries. What makes humans remarkable is not just their ability to survive Earth's dangers, but their ability to recover and continue despite them. Next was Nipa, her amphibious form looking healthier than ever after her recovery from the virus. I studied human social structures, she explained. What I discovered was fascinating. Facing constant threats from their environment, humans developed complex cooperative systems that extend far beyond family groups. She displayed diagrams of human organizations, from small communities to global networks. Their strongest adaptation is not physical, but social. Their instinct to protect not just their own kind, but any being they consider under their care. Voss stepped up to the podium in his newly redesigned exosuit. After the virus crisis, the university engineering department had worked with him to create a more efficient and comfortable system. My research analyzed human innovation, he said through his improved translator. When faced with obstacles, humans don't simply accept limitations as we often do in the Confederation. They create solutions with whatever materials are available, turning disadvantages into advantages. His presentation showed examples of human technologies developed in response to Earth's challenges: weather prediction systems, earthquake-resistant buildings, water purification methods, and medical treatments. Talus moved to the podium next, her silicon-based body making a slight scraping sound as she walked. I researched human adaptability across environments, she said. No species in the Confederation can adapt to as many environments as humans. They have settlements in deserts, Arctic regions, mountains, and coastal areas, each with its own set of lethal conditions. Her display showed humans living in the frozen Antarctic, the burning deserts of Africa, high in the oxygen-poor Himalayas, and deep in the dangerous Amazon rainforest. What other species would choose to live in so many deadly places? She asked. Yet humans not only survive there, they find ways to belong. Elora, still wearing her light protective garments but moving with more confidence than she had 9 months ago, presented next. I documented human compassion, she said softly. What makes humans unique is not their ability to survive Earth's dangers, but their determination to help others survive them too. She showed videos of human rescue workers saving others during disasters, doctors treating the sick, and ordinary people helping strangers in need. On my gentle homeworld of Lumina, we never developed this kind of selfless behavior. We never needed to. Finally, Drev floated to the podium, his gravity regulator humming softly. When we arrived on Earth, we viewed it only as a death world, a planet too dangerous for comfortable living. We came to study humans as curiosities, apex predators who somehow survived in a hostile environment. He paused, looking around at the humans who had become his friends. We leave with a different understanding. Earth's harsh conditions didn't make humans cruel or selfish as logic might suggest. Instead, it made them kind and selfless. They learned that survival depends not on individual strength, but on mutual protection. After the presentations, there was a reception in the garden outside. Special environmental zones had been set up so the aliens could enjoy the party in comfort. Human students and faculty mingled with them, exchanging contact information and promises to stay in touch. As sunset approached, the aliens prepared to board their transport to the spaceport. They would depart Earth that night, returning to the Galactic Confederation with their research, experiences, and new perspectives. Amber, Greg, Ryan, Olivia, Joe, Nicole, and many other humans who had become their friends came to say goodbye. There were gifts, hugs for those aliens who could tolerate them, and even a few tears. As they boarded their ship, Zixhal turned to Professor Bennett. "The Confederation has been wrong about Earth," he said. Yes, it's a death world by our classification standards. But perhaps the real lesson is that death worlds don't produce feared species. They produce needed ones. Laura smiled. Take that lesson back to the stars with you. The 6 aliens departed Earth, carrying with them stories that would forever change how the galaxy viewed the small blue death world and its improbable guardians. 6 years later, a Confederation research vessel suffered a catastrophic technical failure while studying a volatile gas giant. The ship was stranded in a decaying orbit, its crew facing certain death as the planet's gravity slowly pulled them in. The nearest Confederation rescue ships were weeks away, too late to help. But a small Earth vessel, the explorer ship Horizon, was only 3 days from the location. When they received the distress call, the captain immediately changed course, despite warnings that the rescue would push their ship beyond its safe operating limits. The rescue team that volunteered for the near-suicide mission included former students Amber Clark, Greg Winters, Ryan Martinez, Olivia Barnes, and Joe Patterson. Using their knowledge of operating in extreme environments, they managed to reach the stranded vessel and evacuate its crew just before it plunged into the gas giant's atmosphere. When the Confederation officials later asked why humans would risk everything for aliens in distress, Mission Commander Amber Clark simply replied, "Because that's what Earth taught us to do." Throughout the Galactic Confederation, Earth's classification was updated. Deathworld, Class 12. Origin of the Protectors. And in the Academy of Interstellar Relations, a new course became mandatory for all diplomats. Earth Studies, How Danger Creates Compassion. The course was taught by 6 professors who had once been exchange students on a planet they had feared, but learned to love, a planet called Earth.